Hello.
Hi, Kim. How are you doing?
I'm feeling much better.
I've thoroughly enjoyed working with you. You are a fast learner. You really take to heart and do the work on the outside and then come and process it in here. And that's typically where I see people move up in their soul development level. You have what it takes. You are what I would call a happy spiritual person. And that means you are happy most of the time. And the other time when you're working on your issues, you're working really hard. You trust and believe in yourself and in the higher realms to help you. And even though you may struggle, or just like you said, you were having a meltdown over the situation, you still know that you can access the spiritual realm. You can access people like myself for support and help. And you can get through it, right? You don't fall into this bottomless pit and feel like a victim. And so you're one of those people I would put into the category of happy spiritual people, because even though you know it and you're in love most of the time, you also know that even in your darkest moments, you're not alone. And you want to do the work on yourself, right? I love that. I always appreciate your input and your praise and your advocacy for people getting a reading, for trying a course, for doing a program, because a lot of them are struggling. They just don't know. It is expensive, but it's an investment in yourself, right? To feel better.
Oh, yeah.
And they just need to know that even though it does require work on an emotional, physical, spiritual level.
Yeah, but I really feel like I learned a lot.
Exactly. What you get out of it.
I even had a couple of things this week that I figured out. And
on your own,
it's just
right.
Yeah. And it's just like, when it dawns on me, it's like, oh my God, okay, that makes total sense.
Well, yeah. And that's because you've been applying what you're learning in this program. And even though you have bumps in the road, which we all do, it's something that you can have as a takeaway to implement. And you can see yourself growing, which is what it's really about. There are going to be bumps that are hard, but there are going to be moments like what you were just talking about in every day where you go, oh my God, I got this. And I learned how to do this. And
it's weird because it's like this particular one that I'll tell you about, but it just, I wasn't actually even thinking about it. It just kind of popped into my head. And I was like, okay. It just seemed like somebody told me, hey, you know what your issue is with this? And I wasn't even thinking about it, but somebody popped in and said, hey, I figured this out. This is what your issue is with this. And
that's right. It could have been a guide. It could have been a loved one. It could have been from the angelic realm, because they're always watching over you. They know what you're struggling with. They see your triumphs. They see your downfalls, your meltdowns. And when you are in the moment sometimes, and when you're not thinking about things, they can come in real quick and go, why don't you try this? And those are the hits that I'm talking about.
Yeah, I got one of those this week.
Right? Of learning how to hear them, how to trust them, how to ask for them. And they're there. I mean, you're not alone. Yeah. If you knew how many people were around you and loved ones on the other side, you'd never feel alone. But it's when they are able to get through the thick of the mud of overthinking things that like we do, and they can zoom in and they can give you a little insight, a little message, a little hope, a little wisdom, and you get it and you go, oh my gosh, who is that? Who's talking to me? Oh, that's going to help me. Those are the moments, right? That a program like this pays yourself back tenfold, because you realize how connected you are to the spiritual realm and the ones that you love, whether they're alive or in the heavenly realm. And that's what I love. So I'm
not sure who bopped in and said it or hit me with it. I'm not sure, but it doesn't
and sometimes
matter.
You don't know, sometimes it's a collective consciousness of energy, because on the other side, we're really all one. The separation happens when you incarnate or when you're connecting with the other side for a specific reason or purpose. But it's a collective that comes through that uses all the resources from the spiritual realm and the physical realm to set you on the path or give you a message or some wisdom pertaining to what you're struggling with. And they're pulling from all resources. So that's a good point you make. If you can not worry about who's saying it, just know that it's coming in love,
Yeah.
and use
Yeah.
the information to help you with whatever you're struggling with. This is
Right.
how you as a human being taps into your spiritual nature, and you combine both worlds to have the best outcome possible for you. You're exactly right. This is how it works.
Yeah, it was cool. My dad's sign for me has always been a rainbow. I got a really gorgeous rainbow. And first I thought of my dad, and I thought, gee, hi dad, you know what? And I'm thinking, why is he sending me a rainbow? There's nothing going on that, what is, and then I could hear Glenn in my head. He goes, I'm sending that rainbow. He says, but you have to share, you have to send it to, that rainbow's actually for DJ, and I need you to send that to him and tell him that it's from me. Because we had a friend that was undergoing cancer surgery and had an 18-pound tumor on his kidney.
Wow.
And had to have kidney and cancer, all this removed. And Glenn said to me, he says, I want you to send this to DJ with a message to him that everything's going to be okay. And I was like, okay. So
you were the messenger.
I sent the picture to our friend it's actually Glenn's best friend. He was, so I sent the picture to him, and I said, okay, you can believe this or not. Glenn told me that this rainbow's for you and that everything's going to be okay. And they went in and he had the surgery. They got the tumor. They got everything. No radiation, no chemo. Wow. They got everything. All he's got to do is they're going to check it, but they think he's 100% fine.
Wow.
It's just like, it was weird because I see this rainbow and I think of my dad, and it's just like, there's not a reason for dad to be sending me a rainbow.
So that's your left brain trying to figure it out, right?
But then Glenn just popped in there.
And then Glenn just popped in there, and that's how they do it. So they kind of hijack, the sign sometimes. And then if they want you to be a messenger, like you knew it wasn't from you and it wasn't from your dad. And this is what I try to teach people is it's a feeling that just feels a little off. And then your brain tries to make sense of it. And then what happens is your loved one will swoop in, the one that's really trying to give you the message, the sign. They'll swoop in and they'll go, and sometimes they're very specific. This is how it happens for me too. They'll say, oh no, this isn't for you, and this isn't from him. You're the messenger this time.
Yeah,
and this
is
who
exactly what he did. He said, this isn't your rainbow.
Yeah.
And it's not from your dad, it's from me.
I love it. This isn't your rainbow.
It's not yours. No, it's not yours. I'm here. And everything's saying, this is DJ's rainbow, but you have to give it to him and tell him.
Yes.
And I was like, okay.
And one of the things that I love about your level of learning, one is that you're able to hear the messages. You do go in and think about them, which thinking can kind of dissolve them actually, but you come back and you really listen, and you're not afraid to be the messenger. You're not afraid to question what you're hearing, because it can make you feel like you're talking to yourself or crazy sometimes. And you're not afraid to use their guidance and help and deliver it to others if need be, or in whatever way it was intended. And that's not a strength that everybody has. It's definitely one you can learn in a program like Permission to Live Again, because you're able to move into that space of realizing just because they died and they're not around physically, they're on the other side looking after you, helping you, seeing what's going on. And when they need to let you know something or have you be a messenger for someone else, they're going to make it abundantly clear. And if you are out of the grieving stage, the heaviness of grieving, you're able to hear those messages, you're able to feel them in your heart, and you're able to deliver them to other people if you need to be the messenger, like in the situation you did. And you're only going to live in that world and know that if you have either studied what we talk about in this program, if you are actively practicing meditation and communing with your loved ones across the veil, if you're actively working on yourself at a soul level and doing personal and spiritual development so that you can raise your vibration, so that you can get out of your head sometimes, so that you stay out of that negative energy mindset that most of society just swirl in. It's the straightest, the fastest, and the strongest way you're going to make a connection with your loved ones across the veil to receive these kind of messages, not only for you, but as you can see, for other people who are struggling too. So that's one of the things that I noticed in your development throughout this program, is that you had a basic understanding of spirituality and how to tune in and use your intuition. But once you started really putting you first and working on yourself at a personal, deep level to clear some of the programming and the narrative that just wasn't serving you, I saw you really unfold and unflower into being able to receive these intuitive hits, these messages from your higher self, from your loved ones, and then take them in and really apply them to your daily living. You know, and there were even moments where you were really stuck and you couldn't hear the message. And then boom, it was right there, the epiphany, the aha moment. And it wasn't necessarily because I gave it to you, but you could see Glenn or a guide swoop in and say, why don't you think about it this way? And then, you know, you go, oh my gosh, yes, right? And then you would take that, apply it to whatever problem you were struggling with, and you would see it kind of effortlessly correct itself or unfold.
Yeah.
And you know what happens after that? You just want more. You want more access. You want instant gratification. You want immediate knowledge of what other things you don't know. And they show up. And they show up.
Yeah, like I've been on
ways.
YouTube looking for meditations, and I've been doing yoga, and I do all this crap, and it's just really, I'm really into it. It's like, oh
yeah, it's because it raises your vibration. That's what you're feeling. You're feeling lighter, happier, excited, curious. You have a desire to live life again, to reinvest back into relationships, back into finding out who you are. You want to be a part of your life again, knowing that your loved ones are right by your side, not necessarily not here anymore, or up there, or too busy, or around, but I can't see them. You really get it at a deep level, and you earn your wings, so to speak, in that way, to be able to fly with them side by side whenever you want. You don't always have to schedule a mediumship session to connect. You actually learn how to connect with them. You learn how to hear their messages, and then you know how to apply it in your life and be able to look at yourself and go, okay, did I grow? Do I still need to grow? Am I learning it the hard way? Do I get a fast pass?
some things you still learn the hard way, but
there are some things. But that's what I love about you, is that your acceleration rate, whether it's from being in this program, being who you are, the belief system that you have, I think it's a combination of all of that. Your acceleration rate at a soul level has just blown up since you've been doing this work on you. And this is why I do what I do. I love to see that in people. I love to see their aha moments. I love to see them glow when they get a message and they actually get the message, or when they have to be the messenger like you had to be.
Yeah, well, and a couple of them you pointed out to me. I had them, I said them to you, but I hadn't realized it. And you just were like, Kim, da-da, and oh yeah.
Well, it's not our normal form of communication, right? If somebody knocks on your door, you're going to hear it and you're going to go, oh, well, yeah, duh, I heard the doorbell or I heard the knock. I'm going to answer the door. But your guides have to jump through a lot of hoops to send you a message or a sign that sometimes I like to call it psychic amnesia. You just kind of have that deer in the headlight look, and then you'll get it, or somebody else can say it. And you go, oh yeah. And then the cool part is you can look back previously and you can see all the signs that they sent you. You can see all the times where they were present or they let you know that they were around you. And you may have been too busy. You may have been having a meltdown. You may have been really loving life and just in the moment and not captured.
I've caught a lot of them though. I really have. And I really credit my dad for that, because when I saw my grandfather at 13 after he died, as clear as a bell, and when I told my dad about it, my dad didn't, it's not like he tried to tell me, no, that didn't happen.
He didn't brush it off.
He was like, oh, okay, well, he's just saying hello. He loves you. If you see him again, just say you love him. It was like he allowed you to trust
the experience. He gave you permission to trust it.
Yeah. And it was, and I just feel like that has helped me to be open to it my whole life.
Yeah, I've worked with people who are open to it, who are totally closed down to it. But once you have a few experiences that are undeniable, the only thing that you need from that point is to have somebody in your world you can share it with that will give you permission to trust and believe and tune into it, because in our natural right, we have the ability to do that. We are all gifted with that ability. We're just not supported in it. It's not a conversation you can have at the dinner table with the average family who maybe grew up religious or who don't practice any form of connection with the divine. And so you have to find a tribe to feel safe enough to have the conversations. And then what happens when you find that tribe is you're able to share experiences that you've never shared before and get validated. And it just makes you smile a little brighter, because you knew deep in your heart that it was true, but you never got to share it with someone who just validated it. And this is how the spirit world communicates. They do it on such a subtle but powerful way of saying, hey, I'm here. Can you feel me? Can you hear me? Can you sense me? Know that I'm always here and things are going to be okay. And if you don't practice believing, trusting, connecting, centering yourself, calming yourself, you miss those subtleties, as powerful as they are. If you're spiritually connected and if you're in a community that would support you, where you're learning and you're teaching others to say, hey, this does happen. This is true. There is life beyond death. And they can communicate with you. They can have a relationship with you. You realize you're not crazy. You're just tuned in. And we all can tune in like that, but you do have to learn how to do it. You have to trust how to do it. You have to be validated through support and through other messages kind of layering in to guide you along the path where you can't just call it a coincidence anymore. Messages are layered in certain timing and places and from certain people, so that when you add the layers up or you put the puzzle pieces together and you have that epiphany and you get the final message, the reason why they do that is because if they just gave it all to you at up front, there are valuable lessons within that time frame that you may have not learned or skipped over or avoided that actually contributed to the outcome of the message that they were trying to give you, right? They just give you morsels, little morsels, right? That you have to put on a shelf. And then when the full sentence is built or the full message is built and you can put it together, you go, oh, a quick one is the rainbow. So the rainbow came through, it made you think of spirit. You identified with your dad said no. Glenn came in, oh, that's not your rainbow, and it's not dad. It's for someone else, and you're the messenger this time. And so, I wish that they could just talk like we talk, but I think it would take some of the fun out of it too,
Yeah.
but it keeps us on our toes. It keeps us invested in the relationship, and it adds a little humor and a little fun, although it can be frustrating sometimes. But when you're truly connected and your chakras are balanced and you're meditating and you're doing yoga and you're really opening up at a soul level, the messages come quicker, they come more detailed, they come easier to understand. But it's not an absolute complete science. And a lot of people would say it's not science at all. It's more than science. And so in those moments of enlightenment, you have to realize it is our level of spirituality and our level of being a spiritual being that really connects the dots. And that's all that matters.
And I think that there's people that are open to it and there's people that are not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's their choice. And it doesn't matter, but if you're wanting to have that connection with the spirit realm, if you're wanting to live life again after loss and be able to actually fly with them, earn your wings and fly side by side, you have to be open to it. You have to want to know more about it. You have to practice and trust and believe and surround yourself with people who do. And so that's really what matters. So I just want to jump into a few questions to ask you about the Permission to Live Again Life After Death program, that possibly you could share your experience with others. So one of the things that I would love for you to speak about is, what was your most profound moment or experience or understanding that you learned in this program that you can take with you moving forward?
Oh, I don't know if I can narrow it down to an exact moment. Kind of a gradual sense of knowing that what I'm feeling and what I'm hearing, I'm really feeling and hearing. It's not in my head, it's real.
The signs and the messages and the connections that you were making with your loved ones and guides across the veil were actually true, and you could apply them to your daily living, and you could build off of that in forming a relationship, an extended relationship with them from across the veil.
Yes. And like I told you about the rainbow thing, it helped me realize that, that really did happen like that. He really did send you that message. You heard it and you thought it and you did it, but you weren't 100%, you were like 90% sure that that was what you were supposed to do, but you did it. And after taking the class, I realized that I wasn't crazy. That is what I was supposed to do.
Well, I love that. And that's where, like I said, you've accelerated in your ability to communicate, receive the message, and then deliver that, whether it's deliver it to someone else, whether it's apply it to your own life. And mind you, you say class, but this is a 12-week program, and you are working on yourself every day, every week, which leads me to the next question I have is, over the course of these 12 weeks where you and I met face to face, you were involved in some of the live Q&As that I did and would jump on and ask any question under the sun about spirituality, mediumship, connecting. What would you say was one of the hardest things that you had to address or take a look at or be a part of in this 12-week program?
I guess realizing that I make mistakes, and when I do something wrong or I'm doing something wrong, addressing it and fixing it, admitting, okay, this isn't working. This is incorrect. This is me. This isn't somebody else. So I have to fix my part in order for them to help me to get the help that I need.
There's something about being humble and sitting in humility and transparency and vulnerability to say, okay, I'm fallible, but I have all this support around me, and I can either learn it now and fix it, or I can come back another lifetime or have it hit me at a different angle or a different time frame of my life and have to have a redo of the lesson. And so that's one thing that I absolutely loved in working with you is, even though it was hard, you weren't afraid to take a look at yourself in the mirror. You weren't afraid to dig a little deeper and see how you could shift your narrative, how you could offer compassion to yourself instead of always offering it to others. You were able to bring a balance into the way that you were thinking, your mind, and the way that you were living from your soul. And you were able to share it with yourself. We do a lot of work on learning to love yourself, learning to identify who you are, what you need, what your needs are, so that you can be 100% complete when you go to offer service to others. And it's the hardest for caregivers to do. And it's hard when you've lost a loved one, but when you're able to get through the grief and move into, okay, now what? Now what do I do? That my husband of 30 years is gone. What kind of life am I going to create for me now? And I'd way rather have him on my side, swirling from the top and bringing me opportunities and options than to sit alone and feel abandoned and not smile again. And so when you're having to look at those truths, when you're getting a reality check like that, it's hard. It's hard and
realizing that that I was my own worst enemy.
Yes.
Because I was harder on myself than anybody else was. And I wasn't helping myself any by doing that. It was hard to stop. It's hard to stop.
Yeah.
But
so
that was probably the hardest one.
I concur.
To stop doing. And I still will fall back into it once in a while, and I have to catch myself, but yeah.
So we went over what was the most profound. We went over what was the hardest. Is there anything that you can think of you'd like to share with someone who is considering the Permission to Live Again Life After Death program? Any hints or tips or encouragement that you would like them to know before jumping in?
I just think it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth the time, and it's worth the money, but you have to be willing to give it 100% and really do all the work in all the classes, the downloads and the worksheets, and actually sit there and read them and do your notebook and write this stuff down and think about it. And you have to really be open to it. If you're not open to it, it's not going to help you. If you go into it thinking, I don't know, but if you go into it with the idea that this is something that's really going to help me open myself up, and you can really find the way to do that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, if you're ready or not, if you're living in excuses, whether it's financial, whether it's mental, emotional excuses that are going to keep you in your pain, you will know when you're ready not to sit in that pain anymore. And although it does require work, the investment in yourself to
Right.
take you from a level of suffering to a level of smiling and happiness and comfort and peace is definitely worth the investment in yourself to do that.
Right.
So,
And you're gonna spend a lot of time by yourself in quiet, really going inside yourself and thinking stuff through in order to really absorb and learn anything and have it make sense.
Well, and that's the inner work. That's why my business originally was named Inner Healing. It's the inner work that is required. You don't get a fast pass on doing the inner work. That's required to heal, to grow, to transform. The mediumship aspect of this program is beautiful in that it allows your loved ones and your guides and your higher self across the veil to be a part of your journey. And trust me, you can attest to this. They chime in. They have a lot to say. They're gonna put you on the right path, and they're gonna love and support you from across the veil while you're doing this inner work. Right. They're doing the work too. I mean, some of the conversations that we've had offer forgiveness for you and for those across the veil. You're scoring points in your world and they're scoring points in their world. They offer guidance and insight into things you just couldn't make sense of, or that you needed closure for, or that you needed just a deeper understanding so that you could move forward. And for the many years that I just did counseling and working with people who are grieving, it could heal the mind. It could help the mind understand the process of grieving. But when you bring in the mediumship and you're able to say, Shawn, I'm struggling with this problem. Can we tune into my guides? I want to hear what my husband had to say. I want to hear what my parents want to say. Can they give me some guidance? And we tune in. That extra additional information can be life-changing, right? And when I can be the voice for them, and you don't have to worry about doubting or your ego trying to say that it's your self-talk, and I can just be the voice for them to deliver the message for you. It gives you a peace of mind and a validation so that you can apply it to your life. And then when you go into meditation and do that inner work, they come through for you. Take me out of the picture. They come through for you with extra validation and information and wisdom. And you walk away going, thanks, Mom, or thanks, husband or wife. I really needed to hear that.
Yes. And the other thing was, if you do the work and you really work at it, I mean, there were a few times that I had done the work and really thought about things, and I had written all my notes, but it wasn't until I had the meeting with you and I would discuss my notes, and I would have missed what I had actually seen and learned. But you were able to just say, well, okay, go back. Now look at this. You just said this. Mm-hmm. You just figured that out. And it was like, oh my God. Yeah, I did. But I didn't realize it. And so having the weekly meetings with you helps for the stuff that you miss. Mm-hmm. You're able to catch that stuff and say, hey, you did make progress with this or whatever.
Well, and what you're talking about is what happens when you work with a mentor, when you work with somebody who is educated and invested in your progress, in your healing. We can all do
Mhm.
things on our own. We can all Google information, YouTube it, read self-help books. But when you bring two minds together, and mind you, it's not just my mind and your loved ones and guides are chiming in. So the house is full. It
Yeah,
takes a village to work and on your problems and to raise a family. And that's what you
right,
get in this program
right,
is you get everybody coming to the table to support you. And when you're in your own head, or when you're doing it by yourself, or when you don't have accountability, or you don't have support, connection, direction, you miss a lot. But I can
yeah,
tell you, I'm not going to let you miss it. Your guides and loved
right,
ones are not going to let you miss it. And your higher self, which is guiding all of it, knows that you're putting in the work, and they don't want you to walk away not having recognized your wins. And that's
right.
what
And
you get.
that's what you were able to point out for me a couple of times, a number of times, which was like, oh my God, yeah, I didn't even realize I got that, but I did,
Right.
and it's good to have someone to talk to that can help you realize a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love doing that work. I love working with people such as yourself who are ready to do the work, and who are ready to just feel empowered again and feel like they have a life that was given to them with a purpose, and they have a drive to live a purpose-driven life. I mean, that's
Right,
really what it's all about, and your loved ones want that, and they move mountains to try to help you with it. They can't tell you what to do. They're not going to judge you for what you do. But if you say, hey, I need help, will you help me? Boom,
uh-huh,
they come down, they set you up, they have a voice, you feel it,
yes,
you
they
hear
do.
it, and you walk with them side by side, or should I say fly with them side by side, instead of feeling separated from them in their passing. You're awesome. I'm so grateful to you that you have allowed me to just help you along your journey. And it's nothing like a person who gets it, who has been through one of my programs, who is
I've been
seeing,
through two now.
yeah, two of them, thank you, and who seeing it work in your life, right? You're actually
Yeah,
seeing the results of all the work you've put in Permission to Live Again and Mediumship Unveiled. You're seeing the work develop in
yeah,
your common everyday life, and that's what people need to know about and hear, because I can talk about it all day long, but when you have somebody that's seeing the work of their progress, or the
right,
progress of their work, it's
right,
undeniable, right?
definitely.
Yeah.